There's an old tall tale called The Split Dog. I've heard it all my life, and I never paid much attention to it until I started twisting balloons, and then I saw that the balloon would make a perfect prop for this story. Yeah, now, let me get you to sing along with me for just a second. Gonna start off with a little song called I Had a Dog and His Name Was Blue. Goes like this. I had a dog and his name was Blue. I had a dog and his name was Blue. I had a dog and his name was Blue. I bet you $5 he's a good dog too. Here, Blue, you good dog, you. Try that with me. Here, Blue, you good dog, you. Well, I shouldered my gun and I tooted my horn, gonna catch a possum in the new ground corn. Old Blue barked and I went to see, he'd cornered a possum in a cinnamon tree. Here, Blue, you good dog, you. Here, Blue, you good dog, you.
Here, Blue, you good dog, you. Well, now, old Daniel Boone had a dog named Blue, and he was a good sniffer. He could stick his nose down on the ground here in Cary, and he could smell a raccoon over in Nashville. Well, one day, they were running across a field of tall grass, and old Blue, he was leaping high so he could see where he was going. And one time, he leapt up way up high into the air, and when he came down, there was an old sawmill blade hidden there in the grass. He came down right on that sawmill blade, cut him right in two.
Front end split off from the back end just like that. But Daniel Boone was always prepared. He had a little baggie in his pocket with super glue in it. He took some out, he slapped some on the front end, he slapped some on the back end, and then he held them together. Count with me to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Blue was all back together again. He barely missed a heartbeat. He blinked his eyes a couple of times. Whoop, whoop. He barked. He was ready to go. Well, he was almost ready to go. You see, there was one small mistake that Daniel made. He was in such a hurry to get them back together again that, well, you tell me if you know what he did that kind of caused the problem. He put him to, what did he do? He put his tail on upside down. Oh my God, you're thinking that poor hunting dog, aren't you? That's what you're thinking, aren't you? Go ahead and admit it. You're thinking that dog ain't gonna hunt no more possum, aren't you? Say that. That dog ain't gonna hunt no more possum.
Well, you're wrong. Because you see, old Blue, he was a clever dog and he was very, very persevering. He learned to run on his front legs. He just watched old Daniel and he copied him. He'd run alongside old Daniel, but he had one advantage. When his front legs got tired, why, he just flipped over and on his back legs. That's the story of it.
And instruments change just like songs do. And the banjo has changed a lot. The banjo came to this country from Africa. When black people came to this country, they brought a little banjo with them. There are still, in Africa, there's about 60 different instruments that resemble the banjo, that have a round head with a skin over it usually, and a neck with some strings on it. But now the banjo's used a lot by all kinds of people who like to play mountain music and bluegrass. Now here's an old mountain song, and it's real easy to sing. I wish I was a mole in the ground. Sing it again. Oh, I wish I was a mole in the ground. Oh, you sing great. If I was a mole in the ground, I'd root that mountain down. And I wish I was a mole in the ground. Now, the thing about these old songs is a lot of them were made up by just ordinary people like you and me and your teachers and your mommy and poppy and your grandma and grandpa. So I thought it's always fun to see if we can make up a verse to this song. All you need is an animal and a place that that animal is, maybe what it does. Who's got an idea for an animal? Okay? Ooh. How about, I wish there was a lion in the den. If I was a lion in the den, what would I do? What would I do if I was a lion in the den?
Hunt for food. I'll bring a zebra in.
I'd what?
I bring a zebra in.
Bring a zebra in. Well, the lion's got to eat, and that rhymes. He's got a good sense of rhyme. Let's do that one. I say go with that one. I wish I was a lion in the den. Oh, I wish I was a lion in the den. If I was a lion in the den, I'd bring a zebra in. And I wish I was a lion in the den. Let's try one more. Anybody else? Now, one of the things about living back in the old days is we didn't have so much stuff. You had to make do largely with what you got. Now, this is a patchwork quilt. Where would they get those patches from in the old days? Some of you adults must know where. They would be leftovers from the clothes and the material they already had. As your pants got worn out along the knee, worn out along the seat, okay? Your mama would throw out most of the pants, but she'd keep the good parts. She'd put it in a little stack. Do the same with your father's clothes. A fellow named Larry Jennings made up a song about that, and I took it and I added some motions to it to make it more fun. Now, here it is with the motions. I want you to do them with me. Put your hands, and adults, you can do this too. Put your hands up to make a pair of glasses, because when your eyes get old, they need glasses. On my grandma's patch right here, because you're sitting on it all the time. And then quilt like a needle and thread. On my grandma's patchwork quilt, good squares of corduroy, groovy pants to keep you warm in the winter. Corduroy and silk, nice and smooth. Let's do that much. On my grandma's patchwork quilt, squares of corduroy and silk. Okay, red light, red and green. Right, stopping traffic, waving it on. Red and green and blue, blue sky. Here's my favorite part. Yellow too, on my grandma's patchwork quilt so fine. It was an art of her design. A piece of sister's dress next to grandpa's vest on my grandma's patchwork quilt. Here you go. On my grandma's patchwork quilt, squares of corduroy and silk, red and green and blue, and yellow too, on my grandma's patchwork quilt.
Well, this is an old blue medley. And so you've heard a little bit of a song and a story. Here's a story song. The song comes from Uncle Dave Macon, who was a great entertainer back in the early days of the Grand Ole Opry. He came from the Cumberland Plateau in Tennessee. Wrote some songs, played the banjo, wonderful entertainer. And somewhere 30, 40 years ago maybe, somebody got a hold of that tune. I think it was Pete Seeger, famous folk singer, and he added a little story to it. Another folk singer named Michael Cooney added a little bit of a classical piece you may recognize to it. And this is what they came out with. Want to go too. But every time he asked his pa if he could go, his pa would say, "No, you're too little and your legs are too short. You'd get left behind and we'd have to go back and get you. And wait till you're a little bit older." But that little boy, he begged and pleaded and begged and begged and pleaded and pleaded and begged and begged and pleaded waited until finally his father said, all right, you can go when you're 8 years old. Probably thought his little boy would forget all about it, but he didn't. He counted the days, one after another after another. He thought about that every single day until he was 8 years old. And on that morning, he stood before his father. He said, Pa, I'm 8 years old today. Happy birthday, said his father. No, he said, you said when I was 8 years old you would take me hunting with you. Well, I did, said his father. That's true. But you know, those hunting dogs are really fast and your legs are really short. If you get left behind, we're not going to come on back and get you. You'll have to find your own way home, out in the dark. Well, that's all right, said the little boy. He said, I'll bring along my horn, and if I get lost, why, I'll blow it. And old Blue, the lead hound dog, he'll come and get me. Oh, Blue, where are you? You can try that with me if you like. Oh, Blue, where are you? Well, all right, said his father. I guess that's it. They shouldered up their guns and whistled up their dogs, and off they went. Out across the field, up the footbridge over Lick Creek. Met some other farmers and their dogs down in the holler, and off they went. Okay for a while, he was keeping up, but then those dogs, they started to get that scent of that bear, and off they went, getting faster and faster. His legs were getting tired, his breath was getting out, and finally he tripped over a log. He got up, and those dogs were way off in the distance. He couldn't hear them anymore. He looked around and it was all dark. He wasn't scared. He pulled out his horn and he blew for old Blue. Oh, Blue, where are you? Oh, Blue, where are you? And all he could hear was an old hoot owl. Hoo, hoo. Some mosquitoes. An old bullfrog. Took out that horn and blew it again. Oh, Blue, where are you? Oh, Blue, where are you? Way off in the distance, he thought he heard a little something. He said, I think that's them. It's getting louder. They're getting closer. Here they come. They're coming around the mountain. They're coming to get me. Here they come. Away, down for the mountain, down for the mountain, down for the mountain, over the mountains, the hills and the mountains, away with the chase away. Listen to the hound dogs, heavy bass sounding right over the way. All night long till the break of dawn, barely the chase goes on. It's over the mountains, the hills and the mountains, away with the chase away. Miss Gruber wanted me to especially remember to play my dulcimer. This is a real old-timey instrument from the mountains. It's not as well known as the banjo or guitar, but it's a real good instrument. This song is called Waterbound and I Can't Get Home. You see, if you live way back in the mountains where there are deep valleys and it rains, that rain collects pretty soon in those valleys. It fills them up. That happened to me once when I was out in the mountains. I was singing with some kids back in a little community center way back in the mountains, and it rained and poured, and when I went to drive out of there, I got to that valley, and the water was about this deep.
I couldn't get through it. I was waterbound. I couldn't get through the water. Now, I was lucky that somebody showed me a little back road up over the mountain I could get out. But if not, I'd have to just stay there overnight with one of my friends. And that's what's happening in this song. Now, the chorus goes like this. Waterbound and I can't get home. Waterbound and I can't get home. Waterbound, I can't get home down in North Carolina. Can you sing that with me?
Yeah.
Waterbound and I can't get home. Waterbound and I can't get home. Waterbound and I can't get home down in North Carolina. It's always good to have rhythm, like the drums behind. You're used to hearing drums behind music. Well, in the old days, people sometimes would use some spoons to play the rhythm. You can try this when you go home, and on the internet, on YouTube, you'll have little lessons of how to play the spoons. You've got to get those spoons back to back, like that. And you got to have a little space in between them. And what happens is, if you grab them with your fingers like this and wrap them around, but put one or two fingers in between to leave a space, when you tap a spoon, it clinks against the other. So you tap it on your leg to give it a steady beat, and then you hit your hand, and you do a little off rhythm, okay? So I'll play you a little bit. That's something else you could do. You've got to get your fingers really tight and wide, and then you can run them down the stairs like that. Well, as I was going down the wagon road with a tired team and a heavy load, cracked my whip and a lead was strong, and I bid good day through the wagon tongue. Turkey and straw, ha ha ha, turkey and hay, ha ha ha. Oh, frog danced with the mother-in-law, and the whistle up king, oh, turkey and straw, turkey and sky, ha ha ha, turkey and sea, ha ha ha. Oh, frog danced with the mother-in-law, and the whistle up king, oh, turkey and straw, will come to the river and the river cross. Paid $10 for a big bay horse, it wouldn't go ahead and it wouldn't go back, but it went up and down like a steeple jack. Turkey and sky, turkey and sea. Oh, frog danced with mother-in-law and whistled up tune, go turkey and straw, turkey and snow. Oh, 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 turkey and stew. Boo, boo, boo. Both frog danced with mother-in-law and whistled up tune, go turkey and straw. Jamie O'Rourke was the laziest man in Ireland. He would do anything to keep from working. He would sit around all day, and his wife Eileen would say, Jamie O'Rourke, we'll have nothing to eat this winter if you don't get up and pick out the praties. But then one day, Eileen really did hurt her back, and she was laid up in bed, and Jamie had nobody to bring him his food. Well, you would think that Jamie O'Rourke would finally get up out of his bed, get up out of his chair or whatever, and go out and dig out the praties. But remember, Jamie O'Rourke was the laziest man in Ireland.
To himself he says, with Eileen sick in bed, there'll be no praties. With no praties, there'll be no food. With no food, I'll starve to death. There's no telling how soon death will be knocking at my door. I'd best go and confess my sins to Father O'Malley so that I can go to heaven when I die. And so in the middle of the night, Jamie O'Rourke got up out of bed and started down the hill to the church. Well, about halfway down the hill, he heard a little singing and tapping. He come up nice and close, and he pulled back the ferns, and there, sitting in the middle of the moonlight, was
a leprechaun. He was tapping on his very shoe, he was, and Jamie knew just what to do. He grabbed that little feller by the coattails and he held him up. Let me go! Let me go! Cried the little feller. Not on your life, said Jamie. Not until you take me to your pot of gold.